Okay, Amir, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
It's great to see you, my friend.
I know, it's crazy.
This has been a long time coming.
It has. And it's full circle because your videos have helped me a lot throughout my life. So I'm very appreciative of the work that you do.
I really appreciate that. And that means a lot coming from you because I love what you do on your channel.
Thank you.
Our culture is so polarized. It seems like every time something happens, we have these two opposing narratives that just drift further and further from the truth. And so I really appreciate what you do because you kind of cut through all the nonsense and you're not afraid to talk about really controversial, sensitive things. And I think that's incredibly important. So thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I've got to. I have, I'm sure we'll get into that, but I literally feel like I have no choice but to do that. And with the amount of DMs I receive and the secret messages or like the celebrities out there that message me, I do feel like a tide is shifting. I do have a lot of hope. So I'm thankful for that.
That's great. We don't want to out those celebrities though, right?
Yeah, no.
No. Okay. Great. So let's get right into it. Let's get a little bit of your backstory. Like what compelled you to get involved in these cultural, political issues?
Yeah, so growing up, obviously I'm black, but I'm also gay. And growing up, I was always told how to think. I was always told that, oh, because I'm black, I have to hate Republicans and have to stand with Black Lives Matter and all Republicans are racist. And on the flip side, because I'm gay, I was told that, all Republicans are homophobic and I have to align myself with the LGBTQ community. And that was extremely hard for me to go through growing up because I was neither of those things. I didn't really fit in at that time, at least in middle school. I didn't really fit in with the black students. I was the more riding my skateboard to school, listening to rock music. Very different. So I got a lot of bullied for that. And then on the flip side, being gay, I thought I was in the modern LGBTQ community, but then I realized I wasn't. But with that being said, I was very outspoken all the time about my beliefs and where I stood. And I think a big shift for me was in 2016, 2017. Obviously, President Trump took office, and I was very upset at that. And at the time, BLM was, of course, on rampage around, and I was one of the BLM supporters. Like, I, in the streets, crying in Atlanta, like, really feeling like my life was in danger just for being black. And I was very vocal about it. And then I went on a date with this white guy, and we're talking about BLM, and he's like, why do you hate the cops so much? Like, why do you like BLM? And it was in that moment that I realized I didn't know where I stood on these topics. I was just regurgitating talking points from CNN or from Twitter or from my liberal friends. I had no idea where Amir stood because, again, I just defaulted to, well, I'm black, so I have to, instead of really thinking for myself. And so when he showed me different things to look into, that's when I fell down the rabbit hole on YouTube of looking up, Candace Owens, Ben Shapiro, Charlie Kirk, that whole like Republican side. And my mind was really opened. And then I reached out to a guy called Brandon Tatum, and he graciously invited me to an event at the White House. So within a year, I was marching in the streets with BLM, and then I'm in the White House shaking Donald Trump's hand. And that night, after I left the White House, I was back in my hotel room. I am oblivious sometimes, but I was just thinking in my head, well, we're the party of equality, love, and acceptance. I'm going to talk about my experience. Like, 20 days prior, I was at a Beyonce concert, and I was front row. And so I was like, what is my life right now, guys? Like, I'm on Beyonce's homepage on her website, and I'm on Donald Trump's Instagram. Like, life is crazy. No. 40,000 tweets later, you dumb N-word, F-word, should have spat in your face, you're canceled, how could you? And in my head, I'm thinking, I thought we're for equality, acceptance, inclusion of different ideas, but no, they're more for the inclusion of different representations, different genders and sexualities, but not different thoughts. And after I got canceled, that's when I really hit the ground running on being vocal about various things I was really passionate about, like even louder, especially on social media. It was at that moment.
Wow, that's quite a story. And that
Yeah.
happened so fast. What was meeting Donald Trump like?
Um, it was interesting. It was the Young Black Leadership Summit, um, hosted by Turning Point USA at the time, and spearheaded by Candace Owens and Brandon Tatum, both black individuals. And I want to say it was like 200, I think 200 to 300 black kids, all ages between like 18 and like 30 in the White House. So that was the culture shock to me because again, I'm coming from, there are no black Republicans. There are no, like, this doesn't exist. Here I am in a room full of like the blackest of black individuals that you want to stereotype, in this room for Donald Trump. And while I was there, he was very funny. None of it was alarming to me. He shook everybody's hand. It was just cool to be in the White House. And then we go back to the hotel and everybody changes into their do-rags, people busting out the bottles, like playing PS4, just cutting up. And I felt like I was like a family reunion. Like it was like that black. And so that was just a culture shock to me. I was like, what is happening right now? And I think that was a Friday. I'm pretty sure that was a Friday. And then that Saturday, Al Sharpton. I think his name Al Sharpton. Yeah. Al Sharpton got on MSNBC and he was like, all these MAGA kids, they were paid to be there. This is stupid, yada, yada, yada. And I'm like, is this the fake news that Trump was talking about? Because I was there. I was not paid to be there. Like, I went there with the open mind. It was fine. It wasn't as jarring as they were making him out to be. And so that's when I got my first taste of fake news. But it was interesting meeting him. I mean, it was fine. I've been there like 3 times since then when he was in office. But yeah, it was chill.
Wow, that's really interesting. Do you consider yourself a Republican?
No.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
I mean, I line.
because you seem,
Go ahead.
sorry, you seem like a really independent thinker, and
Yeah.
I'm very. I notice when certain content creators are captured by their audience or an ideology,
Oh, yeah.
and it's like if you know one of their views and you can then guess all the rest of their views, and you're correct on that, then
Mm-hmm.
they're not really thinking for themselves. And what I really
Completely agree.
appreciate about you is you don't placate to one side or the other. Like I've seen some of your videos and I'm like, oh, that's a different take. That doesn't agree with the right. So yeah, I wouldn't put you in that category of Republican.
Thank you. Yeah, I don't. I used to, and it's very easy to fall down that trap, because there's a lot of money in it.
Is
Truth
there?
be told, a decent amount. I mean, I've turned down a bit of offers, and to go to certain networks and stuff. I've turned it down just so I can make sure that I do stay independent. But yeah, I'm more like a right-leaning, middle ground, like center person, but I'm about as far right as a black gay guy who likes psychedelics can go, like I'm not sure how much of that is really Republican, but I do have a decent amount of views that just so happen to land with more people on that side.
Yeah.
But I'm not afraid to speak out against it. I always talk about the story where I lost 5,000 followers on Instagram in like an hour because I posted a story talking about how I can't wait to adopt a kid. And then all the Christian conservatives were like, this is outrageous. Like, you can't do that. You're gay, yada, yada. I'm like, did y'all forget? So, I don't know. But thank you for that comment because it is hard sometimes. But I do just try to remind myself to just speak my mind and give my raw opinion. And that's what I always try to do. And there's I have opinions that are more on the left. I'm not afraid to voice it. And I have opinions that are more on the right. I'm not afraid to voice it. And it is what it is.
Yeah, you just recently made a video commenting on the rise of LGBTQ in America.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to revisit that Bill Maher video where he kind of called it a cultural contagion. It was a fad. And he pointed out that in 1940, it was less than 1% of the population self-identified as LGBTQ. Then the baby boomers, it was like 2%. And it's been growing it's been doubling every generation. The Gen X is like 4%, millennials
Yep.
are like 10%, and Gen Z is over 20%. So I'd love to get your take. Is this a social fad that we're seeing, or
I think a a very small cohort of that is, because it always is a cool thing to do. I feel like, I mean, we'll get into that later, but I feel like a lot of the modern, non binary, queer, they, them, neo pronoun, that crowd is like the new emo that existed in like 2008 MySpace days. Um, that was like the it thing, and I feel like this is the it thing. But I want to separate that. As far as the LGB is concerned, lesbian, gay, and bi, which I'm taking away from the trans, queer, and plus, I do think that we are just in an age where we're just more accepting. Because if you think about I mean, hell, all the 1900s, the 40s, the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, it was not easy being gay. No one's openly coming out at the rate that we are now. Um, yeah, my great, it was my great uncle. Yeah, my great uncle was gay, and he was in the closet most of his adult life because it just wasn't a thing you could just openly be about back in the day. So it makes sense why it's rising up. And what's also a thing is when you go on these gay dating apps, what you'll find is a lot of straight men who do these things on the side because that's what they really want to do. You find a lot of married men, especially in conservative towns, on these gay dating apps, looking for other married men to be with. And the only people who have this experience, and I can really talk about it, is gay men because that's the ones that are actually doing it. Like, I think it is it is what it is. Like, I honestly do believe that a majority of this country is very sexually fluid. But I think the norm is to just not accept that. At least back in the day. Now it is becoming more accepting, but that's all I look at it as. I just see more people just being open about what they would do in the bed. Because you still go online in ages between like 35 and 50, these men are still in the closet. These men don't identify as gay, but they still do gay stuff. Like, I don't know. When I look at these graphs and hear these conservatives talk about it, I'm like, this makes sense to me though. Like, as a gay man, of course, more people are talking about being gay because they're more accepting of who they are. And back in the day, you couldn't do that. That's just where I'm coming from.
yeah, I agree with you. Once you remove all the cultural stigmas, it seems like
Yeah.
um, a lot of straight guys that I think about my own past, and there's a lot of straight guys that have done some things that I'm like, that was gay. And if it was okay to be
Yeah.
gay, they would have probably said, all right, I guess I'm bi, you know, but they deny it
Exactly.
and suppress it. Um,
Exactly.
so then you said that the T is separate from the LGP part.
Yeah.
Well, why is the T separate?
Because I think sexuality, root word sex, male, female, everybody listening, you and I both know the main difference between a male and a female. And that's what sexuality is based on. It's based on the biology of it. A You either like what you got, like what you like and you don't have, or like what you don't have. At the bare bones minimum, that's the only options you have. And that's sexuality to me. When it comes to transgender, you're talking about expression. You're talking about wanting to live your life as the opposite sex. You're wanting to change the way you present. When you talk about queer, the non-binaries, the they thems, the all of that side, it's all just expression. If anything, I'll add on asexual to the list of sexualities because there are people that are just not sexually active. They don't really desire sex. Those people exist. And as of late, I'm giving some type of cadence to I forgot the term of it, but the sexuality where you prefer transgender people, and that's where it gets a little muddy. If you're a mask presenting guy that wants a woman but with male biology, to me that's still gay, but I'm willing to create a group to like break that apart. But yeah, I think it's all separate. I think the LGB is set in stone. You like what you like, don't like, or both. And then everything else is expression. And it's getting muddy now because you look at how the modern LGBTQ community is treated. You look at how homophobia is rising. It all has to do with the TQ plus, because the gays were chilling. The gays were fine for a very long time until 2018, 19, 20. All the kids started coming in the picture. Oh, these kids are trans, or even women's sports and like trans and women's sports in the bathrooms. It's like that has nothing to do with what I do behind closed door. That has nothing to do with me. So I would like it to be separated, because when you break it down, even my scenario of like a masked gay guy that wants a female presenting person but with male biology, that's still gay. Like, you're still a dude that wants a dude at the end of the day. So I don't know, it's very cut and dry, the LGB. Very easy to explain what it is, what it's about, versus everything else.
So is it disingenuous to kind of lump all these letters together? And is it, is it even a community? Like,
No, it's too big. It's a community in the sense like, no, it's very disingenuous, and it's not a community, because now we're to the point where we're saying things like trans women are women, trans men are men. I'm sorry. That's not real life. Like, we forget that, again, the LGB is rooted in biology. And now there are articles of gay men and lesbian women being called transphobic because they don't want a trans man or a trans woman. Now, as a gay man myself, by my own community, I'm getting called transphobic because I don't want someone with a clitoris. Literally, it makes no sense to me. The point that we forgot what sexuality is in the first place. There's gay dating apps or lesbian dating apps that are allowing trans women on there. I don't know a lesbian that wants male biology. We're changing definitions. Like, this isn't even a community. Nothing makes sense anymore. There's trans men on gay dating apps. And they're like, well, I'm a man now. And it's like, I'm sorry. Like, gay men are gay because they like a certain body part. And you don't have that. That's not being hateful. That's not being spiteful. It's being real for what it is. Like, if we've become so inclusive that we're now excluding ourselves. So this community is just like self-imploding at this point.
that was a really good quote you just said there. We're becoming so inclusive that we're excluding ourselves. Yeah, I think we're at a point where we're kind of eroding the definitions of every word. And
Yes.
that's where you got that very viral documentary, What is a Woman? Because if you erode all definitions, it's like then you are unable to answer very simple questions that we
Precisely.
were not confused about 5 years ago. So that was a great answer. And
Thank you.
you touched on this a little bit in your answer, but what do you think about teaching this ideology and teaching sex to the kids in school?
I think age and grade appropriate. I think that it all just depends on the age. I think when we get into terms of, I think middle school, late middle school, whatever age you really start to learn about sex, not really what our bodies do. Because I think 5th, 6th grade is when you learn about puberty and what the body does and this and that. That's totally fine with me. But I do think that when it gets to like 8th grade, 9th grade, when you're talking about actual sex, that's when it's okay to introduce the idea of, again, just the LGB being gay and being a lesbian. Because for me, it was very confusing growing up in that time. I'm being told, okay, men and women get together and they have a baby. I already know I don't like women at all. I already know, looking at things online with my friends that they're all excited about this woman and I'm like, ew. Like, I already know. It's like, what is my experience? And I'm having to run to the dark corners of the internet where any teen shouldn't have to do for a simple explanation of, oh, there are people who are just gay. I think that's perfectly okay. I talked about this in a some conservatives were actually surprised I stood up and agreed with that. I was on a middle ground episode, and that was a question: do you think LGBTQ topics should be taught in school? And age and grade appropriate for sure, just because it is a thing that exists, and it would save a lot of gays trouble if they were taught early on. Yeah, there are humans who physically are just incapable of being with a woman or being with the opposite sex, and this is what we call them, and that's just okay. I think that's perfectly fine. And as far as all these sexualities, I mean, the expressions and genders and stuff, I don't think none of that should be taught in school. If anything, I not even that's something the school should teach. It's more just like society and family at home, but it's acceptable for like males to do some feminine things. It's okay for some females to do manly things, but that doesn't mean you're automatically trans. Like, I think we've missed the plot on that whole idea. But yeah, I think for sure age and grade appropriate, some of these topics should be taught in schools. Not in detail, like how to have sex and gay sex, no, but just that it exists, at least.
I think the research shows that most teenagers that take puberty blockers and these things, they would have just turned out to be gay or lesbian later on.
Oh, yes. I would be terrified to be a gay kid right now in this day and age because one, I mean, there were so many times I thought I was a woman. Because I'm like, wait, I like guys. That means that I'm a girl because girls like guys. Oh no. And there's parents out there that are just like, oh, yep, let's go. Puberty blockers, sign you up, let's switch your gender. And it's like, we all remember being that age. We all remember being 10, 12, 11, 13. Like, it was confusing. We were stupid. We were dumb. We were young. These kids can't make these lifelong decisions. And so I genuinely do feel like a lot of these kids they're just gay. Like, it's borderline homophobic. And to just sit here and like you're looking at your kid and you're like, here's my son doing feminine things. I don't want that. Let's just make it a girl. Instead of just accepting your son for what they are. Like, you're all about equality, but you're almost doing the opposite of like equality and inclusivity by just like going back to you either a male or a female on all fronts. Like, you're not even allowing any wiggle room, but then you want to say that you are. It's confusing times.
It's funny how when you push for something so hard, you often become your opposite. You know, the more you resist, you become that opposing force. And so, like, if you try to bash everybody over the head in order to be tolerant, you become quite intolerant. And yeah, in an effort to prevent suffering, we're creating untold suffering right now, and we're gonna see quite a big backlash. I think we already are with the regret and the detransitioners.
Yeah, the detransitioners.
What do you think about that?
I think they're a voice that really needs to be heard, and it's unfortunate that at large the LGBTQ community kind of just throws it to the side. Oh, it's a weird thing that happens. Oh, they're being, transphobic. And it's like, no, they're telling their story because they were misled. There's no reason to give a double mastectomy to a 12-year-old girl. There's no reason to allow this person to forever have their voice changed. Because at one point, what does consent mean anymore? So you mean to tell me that in San Francisco, you banned Juuls and vapes because you don't want these 16, 17, 18-year-olds to smoke a vape, but you're advocating for them to transition? A lifelong decision? More lifelong than, some vape in your lungs? It doesn't add up. Like, how you're saying these kids can't smoke, they can't drink, they they can't do all these things, but you're advocating for them to have the right to a certain transition because they know what's best for them. It's heinous.
It is heinous. I did a video with Tammy Peterson. She's
Yeah.
the wife of Jordan Peterson. And it was a really interesting story about a young teenage girl who detransitioned. And her story was, it had a big conflicting conundrum within it because
Hmm.
it started off, she felt uncomfortable about her body, and they instantly said, okay, you're trans. Let's switch you over.
So silly.
And then she talked about how uncomfortable the whole process was, how she felt pain, she felt all these other things, and people were like, oh no, that's natural. You're going to feel pain transitioning. You're going to just deal with it. And it's like, well, why didn't you tell her that in the beginning? You know?
That part.
Because she was uncomfortable, now we got to put you on this track that you can never reverse. And then
Yep.
it's a very uncomfortable track, and then you have to just deal with all the uncomfort down that road. So yeah, it's a lot of hypocrisy.
Which is so silly to me because one, we know it's a money making machine, so I get it. But it's also like, what teenager actually enjoys puberty? Who actually enjoys going through a time where your hormones are all over the place? 1 minute you're pissed, 1 minute you're happy. Things growing, things changing, you got pimples, acne. Like, no, it's not a fun time. It's not the best. So it's like, just let them go through it. They're gonna work themselves out like we all did.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about accept who you are, and I think that's what the gay and lesbians embody so well, is they've come to accept themselves for who they are. And then, like you said, these other letters that don't quite fit in with the other letters, it's just like
Hmm.
they're trying to bend the entire world to their will,
Right.
you know.
It's like, it's almost not acceptable. I mean, it probably is, but it seems like it's becoming less and less more common to just be a tomboy, tomgirl, or like a butch lesbian and like a lady boy. Like you, that's becoming more uncommon, and now it's just like, oh, if you're a butch lesbian, you might as well just be a trans man. Like, oh, if you're a super flamboyant and like feminine loving male, you might as well just be a trans woman. And it's like, or I can just be myself, like you're pushing me to be. Or I can just accept myself for who I am. I am a gay man that likes to wear wigs and high heels, big whoop. Why is that a problem? Like, why are you now pushing me to transition? It's so, again, like how people say the left is eating their own. It's like the gays are eating their own. The gays are being so the opposite of what they're trying to be.
Yeah, I think we're at an interesting point in our culture where every group is kind of eating itself. I mean, even on the
Yeah.
right, you're seeing like Candace Owens and Ben Shapiro going at it, and
Yeah.
I mean, we're criticizing the left a lot, but we can also say some of the same criticisms to the right. Like they're also trying to censor certain books and things like that.
Oh
Like
yeah.
anytime I see censorship, I'm not really down for it. You know,
At
I'm
all.
always
No,
open for like
same.
an open conversation. And ironically, some of these super anti-gay like pastors and whatnot, they're the ones that are doing things behind closed doors that are, you know, the
Listen,
most opposite of what they preach.
I feel so bad because I do get a lot of messages from the Mormon gays and the Christian gays who they're just never gonna come out. They're like, I can't, I have these feelings, but it's against my faith and I'm not doing it. And I'm like, I don't think that's a good solution. It may work out, it may work out for some, but I do get a lot of messages from that sphere of, well, I'm Republican and I'm Christian, but I'm also gay. I'm never going to admit that part. Like, I appreciate what you do, what you say, but that's not going to be me. And it's sad. You go, it kind of goes back to what we were talking about before, but yeah, the most homophobic, it turns out, a lot of people who are the most homophobic are also the most gay. My friends who are, my straight friends who are so comfortable in their sexuality and the conversations we have, I know they're straight. Like, there's no question about it. But then these guys I hear that are like, oh no, man, like, the gays are bad, or this and that. I'm like, they're gay. Like, that's
Yeah.
just cringe. Like, you're literally gay.
Well,
And it's sad.
that taps into some Jungian psychology, about our shadow side and the things that we suppress.
Mm-hmm.
The things that irritate us the most are going down into our psyche and tickling the things that we've suppressed the most. So
Yep.
you can learn a lot about yourself by what irritates you.
Listen, that's powerful because it's very true. If you just pay attention to your own life, how you're feeling inside, and what you're going through, it'll often be revealed. But you have to be at least a little open and accepting to yourself and allow yourself the space to understand the vices that you have and the way you're feeling, what irritates you, and really grow and learn from that if you really want to.
100%. And this is a good transition to our next topic. What do you think is causing the mental health crisis?
Tuh. I think a lot of the instant gratification, a lot of the social media, is causing a lot, especially in girls. A lot of being jealous of what other people have. A lot of just thinking what your life should look like. I think that's causing a bit of it. I think almost our echo chambers, like not being exposed to different ideas and viewpoints, it's causing a lot because we're like trapped in this bubble of, oh, I agree with you. Like, yes, we all feel the same way. Like, that's not the real world. That's not how our world exists. Like, you're going to come across people who disagree with you. And I think that's a big thing. Obviously, the food. I think the food's a big one. And the crap that's within it and what we're eating. The amount of people that don't take care of their bodies, that don't work out, that don't just go outside. Porn, a big one for a lot of young men, dragging them down a path that's just not healthy. There's a lot.
Yeah.
There's a lot that cause for the mental health today.
I guess that was a pretty open-ended question. Do you have practices that you employ to keep yourself sane?
Yeah. I try to, go to the gym at least 4 to 5 days a week. I love hot yoga. Like being in that hot room, challenging positions, pushing myself, no devices, no nothing. That's like a therapy for me. Taking my pup on a walk every day, a long walk outside, no phone, just going outside, getting some fresh air. Those are the things that hold me down and keep me sane. Eating good food, whole foods, but also not going too extreme with it. Like lunches and dinners, I try my best to eat extremely healthy and whole foods and grass-fed meat, but I'm not gonna give myself crap if I want like the local donut because like it's so good, or like a sweet treat. Like I'm not gonna give myself crap for doing that. That keeps me sane, holds it down. And then funny enough, it can be frustrating sometimes, but listening to people that I just absolutely disagree with, that holds me down. Especially when I'm regarding content creation and different things to talk about. I try to go to the extremes and listen to the things that they have to say, as much as it may irritate me, to just grasp at something and see if I agree with an inkling of what they're saying to kind of pull me back in the middle. So those are some things that I probably do.
It's very important you need to know your opponent's ideas better than them. That's how you win a debate. And not that they're your opponents, but it's great to explore the whole spectrum of ideas. And I try to do the same thing. Like there's certain thinkers that drive me crazy, but I still respect them enough to listen to them. Like Sam Harris is one of them, where he lost me for a bit, but I still have enough respect for him that I will listen to his takes because he's super logical. The world is not a logical place though, but he's like all logic and no fun. But I still force myself to listen to him all the time because I think that his opinion is still valid. Yeah.
Yeah, I listen to him. I mean, Matt Walsh.
You don't agree with Matt Walsh?
I do on some topics, but it's probably the gay stuff, not so much. He's just like extreme with it. I'm
Right.
like, bro, let's take it down a few notches. And on the flip side, I like Hassan Piker, watch him a
I don't
lot.
think I know him.
The Twitch streamer, uh, Philip DeFranco, who's like more like a little left center, I think. I don't know, but I just try to just keep my eyes peeled to both sides, like you said, just because it does help me stay grounded and to look at things from a nuanced perspective. Because if you go through my YouTube videos, you'll see that I'm learning too. Like, I'm giving my opinion, but I'm open to just admitting, actually, I kind of see what they're saying. Like, I'm okay with that. That's life. We're all learning. We're all growing. And if I come across someone who's like, this is how I feel, this is it forever, I'm like a red flag. Like, that, a little sus to me, but I'll hear you out.
Have you ever done any public debates?
Um, I did one IG live with another creator. It was about reparations for Black people, and then that was it. I never really done like a live debate. I mean, I would. I prefer to have a conversation because I hate like how toxic debates can be. Just like it's just shouting competitions. You're just listening to respond, not listening to understand. So I prefer like have conversations with people I disagree with. But I mean, yeah, I'd be open to it. But no, not a classical like debate. No.
Yeah, the debates I see online are so performative now because it's like
Yeah,
they know
exactly.
it's going to be online. So they're trying to get these gotcha moments. And then you
Mm-hmm.
see the titles of the videos are like, this person got destroyed or savaged. And I
Yes.
can't stand those titles because anytime I see a video title like that, I know it's very like biased towards one side.
Yeah.
But those things go viral. And that's just
Mm-hmm.
our minds are geared toward to be impulsive. And those things play on our
Exactly.
impulses.
Whereas I think it'd be way beneficial to just sit down and have a conversation. I'm listening to it's about 3 hours long now. Um, content creator called Ellen Fisher. I think her name's Ellen Fisher. I think that's her last name. But she recently had on Allie B. Stuckey, conservative mom, versus Desmond. I'm unfamiliar with his last name, but a non-binary teacher. And they have a conversation, and it is so good. They're not yelling. They're not doing gotcha moments. It is so respectful. It is so good, and I miss that about the conversation we used to have, especially like around 2018, 2019. I feel like that was a lot of the conversations. But now, with how TikTok is, with how in your face Instagram is now, a lot of it is just the gotcha moments and performative conversations.
Yeah, sadly, it seems like we've gotten to a point in our culture where almost everything you do is a performance. Like you look at these protests, and you wonder, like, who is
Oh,
this? Is this for just social media? Like all this
mm-hmm.
behavior? Like I know
It's
you
just for
talked a
my
lot about
story.
those protests, so I'd love to get your thoughts on that behavior.
Yeah, I think, listen, I feel for him. I was there, especially as regarding the BLM crowd. Like, I was an emotional Black person on campus thinking my life's in danger, cops gonna shoot me, hate white people. They're just extremely misled, extremely young. I'm 28 now, and I thought I was grown. You couldn't tell me nothing when I was in college. I really thought I was a grown man, and I'm just like, no, still have a lot of growing to do, Amir. Um, these kids, they think they're fighting for a cause by posting a story, and genocide, or you know, people need these rights in Congo, and it's like, all right, listen to yourself. Like, you're so entrapped and privileged in America that you're forgetting that this isn't the world. This is a privilege. You're advocating, like, you're being fake. You're advocating for these illegal immigrants to come here, come to America, let them in, open borders, while also screaming about how you hate this country and how, like, you want other countries to stop fighting and this and that. And it's like, there's everything's conflicting with what you're talking about. Like nothing makes sense with what you're saying. Like you're saying you hate America, but you want people to come here, and you're saying you want all these people to stop fighting, as if you haven't realized that a lot of the countries are fighting. That we are privileged to be in America. That we are privileged like to walk around, do what you want to do, and be what you want to be. Like you fail to realize what the real world is like. And I ran a poll on my story. I asked people. I said, "Hey," and this was back before I had extremely right-leaning audience, but do you think America is like just a bad country? And everybody was like, yeah. And then some people were like, no. And then the next question was, have you ever left the country? And the people who said no have left the country. And the people who said yes have not left the country yet. And it's like, go see the world for what it is. And you realize how blessed we are here in America. And you realize how brutal and real the world is. But these college students who just go out there, post these stories, rally for the other countries, it's like, I don't understand it, because you're trying to be Captain Save-A-Ho and like save the planet from all these different things, when you're also bickering and fighting about the things going on in your own country. And it's like, at least focus. You're not focusing. You're just saying shit. Like, just focus on one thing, please. You can't sit here and cry and cry and cry about America being so bad, and then sit here and cry and cry and cry that we need to focus on what's going on overseas. Like, care about your immediate life, your immediate family, your town, and your country, and then we can go and try to help people around the world. But I think it's very hard for these college students to realize that we can't do everything at once. It's failed. We just can't. So this activism that they're doing, I genuinely, it's something that confuses the hell out of me. Like the starving yourself because your university works with companies that support Israel. But you know how many companies support Israel? It's like, what are we doing here? I don't know. I genuinely don't know.
Well, I believe that a lot of this stems from a lack of purpose and direction. We're living in this time of chaos, and people don't know, they don't have anything to ground them, really. We've moved away from religion. As Nietzsche said, God is dead. So it's hard to have like a code of ethics or principles or morals anymore. Yeah. And we've been told that science is our God, but you can't get, you're not supposed to be able to get morals from science and facts. If you are, it's not science anymore. It's religion. I think from that lack of purpose, people feel like they don't have any free will and they're powerless. I used to feel like that at one point. I think when I started my channel, I was basically like a socialist. I believed that America was a bad place. I wanted the world to change, and I thought that if the world changed, things would get better for me. But I did have a kind of a wake-up moment where I realized, like, I can't change the world. The only thing I can change is myself. And that will actually change the world. So through small incremental changes to myself, the world around me opens up. The kinder, more responsible, the more generous I am, the more opportunities open up to me. So it's like as above, so below. It's a very spiritual idea, but I think these young activists, they're missing that. They haven't looked at their shadow side, the Carl Jung idea. And so everything's irritating them because they haven't dealt with their demons within.
Yep. They are looking for a place to belong. And it's very easy to get clout. It's very easy to belong when you're just rallying for the next thing that we're supposed to be hyping up, whether it be BLM or Ukraine or getting the vax or Palestine. Like, it's very easy to grasp on to these ideas and feel a part of a group. I was listening to another podcast and they were talking about how the non-binaries, the they, them, that crowd is a lot of white women. And they're hypothesizing that it's that way because they're the group that's a little, not fully exiled, because like women's rights, but like they have nothing to leech on. Black people have BLM, the Hispanics have the Hispanics, the gays have like, their own groups. They want to be a part of something. It's like, oh, I'll just be a they them. I'm non-binary now. Now I'm a part of the LGBTQ community. Oh, I'll support Palestine. Now I'm a part of like this group on campus, and I'm feeling in. I have purpose now. Um, like you said, that they feel to lack that by changing their own life, by looking within, that will in turn change the world. And it is a little unfortunate that I think the only ways for someone to get to that point at a young age, I think, is through trauma a little bit, and understanding trauma or something abrupt happening in their life. You can't see it because I'm black, but I have a tattoo right here, and it says it's like a stopwatch. It's just 00:00, and it reminds me that I never know when my life is up. Uh, this stopwatch can end at any time. Because when I was in 8th grade, went through a whole battle of depression and multiple attempts to self-delete. There was one night where I came really, really, really close. Didn't end up happening. And at that moment, I just made a pact with myself that if I'm not going to take my own life, then I'm just going to allow, like, Earth, God, whatever, to run its course. And until that time is up, I'm going to strive to be an entire different person. I'm going to strive to be successful. I'm going to strive to create the life that I wish to live, and just focus on myself. And since that moment, I've fallen off here and there, but I've always just tried to remind myself to just self-improve, be open, learn more, because I never know when this time is up. And I got my purpose from that. I understand what the power of using my voice can do. And a lot of these college students that are protesting, that are leashing onto the next big thing to worry about, they have no purpose. And that is their purpose. Their purpose is whatever anybody else's purpose is.
Yeah, I don't really blame them though. I mean, when you're looking at
Yeah.
the feature that they're facing, they've got AI that's coming down. Who knows that? I mean, what degree are they working on right now that won't be obsolete potentially?
Exactly.
They're probably thinking, what am I doing here? This is all meaningless. And from day one of their lives, they've been told climate change is going to end the world in X amount of
Mm-hmm.
years. So they probably are feeling pretty demoralized, discouraged, hopeless. And
Yeah.
then they find this cause that gives them some sense of meaning, and
Mm-hmm.
they get very passionate about it. It's like the less meaning you have in your life, the more passionate you're going to be about some random issue on the other side of the world that you have no control over. But, it's kind of like there's a quote that you've just made me think of from Marcus Aurelius.
Mm-hmm.
He says, love the hand that fate deals you and play it as your own. So
Yeah.
it's like, you're going to get a lot of obstacles in your life. You're going to be very uncomfortable, but
Mm-hmm.
it's up to your own mind, your perspective to shift that and make it a superpower. So I think you did that brilliantly.
Thank you. Yeah, it's not what happens to you. It's just how you move forward.
100%.
It's you can't control what happens to you at all. At all. You can't. But you can control how you respond. You can't control how you move forward. You can't control what you decide to do with your life with the information given to you. And that's the only thing we can't do.
It's a very powerful message, and I sense that in your videos. Are you getting a lot of like really powerful responses from people, like saying, "Oh, you opened my eyes, you changed my
Yeah.
perspective"?
Yeah. It's humbling. It's insane. I get a lot of messages like that. That just let me know that, I've changed their life essentially by changing their mind. Push them to work on themselves, push them to lose weight. Really, it kind of varies on the video, but the said people respond to that video. Said videos talking about fat phobia and body positivity and all that, and there's fat people in the comments like, "Yo, I've lost 50 pounds." Like, this video really like gave me a reality check. Or my videos criticizing like they thems and the non-binary people, and they're like, oh, Amir, like actually I am just a guy that's a little more feminine. um it's crazy, but I am getting a response that people are just waking up more and more to their own lives and looking within, and I'm glad that they're getting that through my content, that it is so easy to be negative. Like I do get those comments too, where I mean, I'm grateful that you talk about these topics, but it's not in an inflammatory way. There are sometimes I get heated, especially when it comes to the kids. I'm sorry, I do get a little heated, but the majority of my content is me calm, talking to the camera, giving my perspective, and giving, you know, new ideas. My main goal is to equip people with the tools to rationally share their opinion online. And if they can rationally share their opinion on a tough topic, that means it's broken down to a level that is able to be received by anyone. And with that, giving people those tools is way easier to then pass it off to their best friend or their cousin or their aunt. Like, hey, actually, here's another idea. And it opens a whole new cans of worms for another person out there. So, yeah, I do get the message. It's very, it keeps me going, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's like a ripple effect. There's
Mm-hmm.
there's no telling how big of an impact you're having, and you are inspiring millions of people now. Your channel's grown incredibly fast.
Ugh, getting emotional. It's literally like, it just blows my mind because I started Instagram really basically in 2020. My Instagram account blew up. Um, but I mean, I'm at 215,000 on YouTube, and it was started last March.
That's really fast.
I mean, I had a couple thousand, I had like 4,000, 5,000 subscribers on YouTube, for my Instagram from back in the day, but posted my first video, my concerns about the gay community. And I mean, my channel wasn't even monetized. Literally posted that
Damn.
video. 3 days later, it's at 1.5 million views.
That was your first
And
video.
I'm just like, yeah. That was like, I'm gonna pour some time into this. I mean, I can pull up my Google Docs. I've been sitting on this video since 2021, 22. Had all scripted out, just never did it. And something in me was just like, actually, take a week to study the biggest YouTubers. Take a week to edit it. That intro at the time, I don't know editing. That intro took me 8 hours to make. I'm like, just do your best to make this really nice video. Give your opinion, lay it out there. Post. 1.5 million views, 40,000 subs later. Have not let my foot off the pedal since. And it's just grown and grown. And I just try to just maintain tunnel vision, focus on me and only me, my channel only. It's so easy to compare myself to other people, this and that. But I just focus on my message, make sure every video can be received in a positive light, make sure that I would watch my own video, and most importantly, a lot of the content that I make is just for my 16-year-old self. It's like, how would stubborn 16-year-old liberal Amir take this video? That's who I'm always making my messages for. And it's been a game changer since. I'm just very grateful for it.
I think that's the best approach. You make the video that you want to watch, and you have to listen to your audience. You have to listen to feedback, but you also need to know when to put on blinders and just create for the sake of creating, create for the joy of creating. Because if you're paying attention to too much feedback, you get burnt out quick.
Oh, quick.
And so for me, it's always been a balance of like, I can tell when somebody's a troll, and I can tell when they're giving me genuine feedback. And I love to I read, people say don't read the comments, but I do read almost every comment. I may not respond, but I'm just like quietly just going through them all. And it may not be the healthiest thing, but for me, I'm kind of removed. Like, most of the attacks are not on me personally. They're on the content, because it's an animation. But yeah, I imagine it's much more difficult for you because you're there front and center.
Like you said, you can tell when it's constructive. I never take it in a negative light. It's never rude. It's like, oh yeah, I can work on that. Oh yeah, I can, be more nice about this topic, or oh, I can do this or that. Because That's a win for me. Like, oh, this person disagrees with me enough to respectfully let me know how to effectively talk to someone like them. That's game. That's gold. Of course I'm gonna take that. And then when it comes to the hate, it's like, if you're not doing that, if you're not constructive, and if you are hating, 9 times out of 10 you didn't even watch the full video. You're not even trying to understand an inkling of where I came from. Amir, you're so homophobic. Homie, I'm married to a man. Like, oh, what are you doing? I mean, you hate feminine gay people. Have you seen me twirl, prance, and Vogue at a Beyonce concert? Like, let's be real here. You're not. No, it's like when I do come across the hate comments, it's one ear and out the other. Because again, I've always had this idea. Funny enough, it was a Tyler Perry movie, the Medea series. It was this one scene, she was on the bus, and she was like, honey, people gonna hate you to the day you die. And for me, I was like, in that moment, when I watched that scene, I was like, holy shit, she's right. So I never really cared. I'll never forget, there was this time when I was a freshman in high school, I'm leaned up against the little pillar, and this guy goes, hey, Amir, like, you're an F, like the F slur, and throw a milk carton at me. Which, side note, is so ironic, because I am lactose intolerant, so I'm like, really? Milk carton? But threw the milk carton at me, and everyone was like, oh, snap. And my lesbian friend popped off. But I'm like, no, it's fine. Dusted myself off, got a napkin, threw it away, turned around, continued the conversation. And no one bullied me since that day. Because everyone was like, oh, he does not care. Like, bullies want feedback. They want you to get angry. Like, I wasn't angry. At that time, I'm like, look at me, why didn't you fight back? And I'm like, if you have to stoop that low to throw a milk carton at someone, that man's fighting demons at home, and I feel bad for him. Whatever's going on at home, I'm sorry for him. He's taking it out on me, whatever, but I'm not gonna lend a stranger power over my emotions anymore. I'm done with it. I've gone through that. The only people that have the power to really, like, hurt my feelings are those that I love. My close friends, my family. Because I know if it's not the constructive criticism, it's like when you're a kid and your parent can either whoop you or say, hey, I'm just disappointed in you. Which one hurts more? Hello. Like, I'm just disappointed in you. That's, oh. But when I get the hate comments, no. That's always in one ear and out the other. And that's another reason why I always strive hard to, do what I do. Because I'm built for it. I don't care about the hate. I genuinely don't. And both my grandparents passed in the last, 2-3 years. And all my cousins, they've come to me like, Amir, like, now when I watch you, I see our grandparents. Because one was a pastor, and the other was a very, advocate, protester. Like, she was out there getting arrested with Martin Luther King. And I'm like, well, I am well aware that my ancestors couldn't speak the way I speak now. So I'm going to use my voice. Like, I'm going to use it. And that's just what it is. And it's worked out.
What do you think your ancestors would think if they could see you now?
So it's kind of split. I think for some of them, probably upset that, I'm not this extreme pro-black person and I'm with a white man and I am gay. And a lot of homophobia in the black community. Some of them would be upset, but I think outside looking in, a majority of them would be very just shocked. Like, wait, I'm picking cotton right now. I think my life is over on this field. And I'm looking a glimpse to the future. There's a black man at home in the country. Because I'm surrounded by plantation. The nice homes and these plantation and golf courses. I'm in the deep south. I'm probably on top of them, to be real. To look at a camera and get paid. Their dream. to go anywhere in this country and be fine, to be in the Deep South and be fine. I'm their dream. That's what pisses me off about this BLM crowd. It's like, I am my ancestors' dream. I'm doing everything they couldn't do and getting paid for it. That's wild to me. I respect that. I value that. I'm well aware of what's happened to black people in the past, and I'm going to take advantage of what we can do now, which is everything. I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm getting sprayed by water hose. I'm not going to sit here and act like I can't drink from this water fountain. I'm not going to sit here and act like I've seen a Klansman a day in my life. Do they exist? For sure. But it's not like what it used to be. I'm not going to disrespect them like that. I'm not going to act like I'm living in the same America they're living in. And I'm well aware of the things that, we weren't told. Like, for some ancestors, they're very proud. My papa, I call him, he's very proud. He's someone who is a black Republican at the age of, how old is he? Like, he's between like 78 and like 82. Who is a black Republican? Who did grow up in the Deep South? Who did have a different perspective of Klansmen and interacted with Klansmen who didn't want to be Klansmen. But they were, because that was the it thing to do. And there were Klansmen that protected black kids. That would tell my papa, hey, don't go down this town at night. Don't go down this street. Don't hang out over there. They're going to be acting wild. Just stay away. I didn't learn that. Like, there are things that, we're just living in an entire different America. And I'm grateful for it. And that's why I fight so hard to protect it, especially on my issues with regarding the border. I fight hard to protect the rights of biological women. I know what they've gone through in the past. But yeah, man, I respect and honor where black people have came from in this country, and I know the power that I have now. I'm never going to disrespect that.
That was beautifully said. Thank you for sharing. I found that to be incredibly powerful, and kind of reminds me of my own past. I am Japanese, and in World War II in 1940s, my grandparents were both in concentration camps in America. They were full American citizens, but they were stripped of all their property, their jobs, everything, and they were thrown in these camps. And a few years ago, I was driving down this really desolate road near the border of California and Nevada. It's like in this completely dust area, super dry. And I see the sign for Manzanar. And I'm like, oh, Manzanar? That's the camp that my grandparents were in. So I just like turn off the road, and it's like this desolate camp in the middle of the desert, 110 degrees, these barracks with just high fences all around. And it's still there today, but it's now kind of like a museum. You can visit it. And I just had a moment, I tripped out just standing there looking in this fence, thinking like 80 years ago, my grandparents were in this camp, and here I am, a YouTuber. Right. If they could see me now, that's just, they couldn't even believe, like, and I've been given this gift, and I'm not going to squander it. I'm not going to take this for granted at all. And you just got to be grateful, because it took untold sacrifice to get you to where you are now. And we have a culture that wants to just throw it all away. It's completely ungrateful.
Literally they want to throw it all away. And it's the people like you and I, and there's more people out there like us who acknowledge it for what it is. Everyone's like, oh, America's so bad, I hate it, this and that. And it's like, bro, do you want to experience that? I wish we had a time machine. Like, do you really want to see bad? I'm not saying it's perfect. I'm not saying there aren't things to work on. But the way you're acting it's not lining up with how we're treated. The math isn't mathing in that regard.
Yeah, so I have a question for you. Are we not allowing old wounds to heal right now? It seems like for a long time we were making progress racially and in many regards socially. And now are we going backwards now?
yes, but also it it's almost like we're not allowing. Okay, for black issues, yeah, for black issues, we're not allowing space to heal, which I get a little bit because I mean, hell, the 50s and 60s, like Jim Crow laws. Like people, there are people that are alive that are young, like 50s, 60s, who went through that and telling their kids about what they went through. And then their grandparents, like we're still within, there's still people alive who went through all the stuff that we're talking about. So I get it. And they're passing down that trauma. Oh, the white people used to treat me like this. Nah, so I don't like the white people. When it's real, it was real. I get it. But then they're passing that down, and then now for no reason, not for no reason, but like now their grandkid is has that same perspective as them, even though it's not the world they live in. Now they're just attaching themselves to what they did to my grandparents instead of what's happening to me. So in that regard, yeah, I think they're not healing past trauma. At first, I thought about the gay community, and we were healing a lot, and now we just created more problems. We're kind of destroying the progress that we've made, such regarding the trans, non-binary, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, totally. Regarding race relations, I think there's a lot of trauma that is unhealed and passed down, and there's no wiggle room to even bend the knee at it. Like, which to one degree, I kind of understand. Like, if you're 65, 7-year-old black man who grew up in the Deep South, you went through more than half your life by getting torn up by white people. And without social media, who knows the things that they saw and the things that they went through and the things they heard. Like, I get it a little bit, but this is not the America we're in right now. This is not. They're passing it down to their youth.
I think it's natural human nature, though, because the pendulum always swings. So for hundreds of years, it was swung way too far in one direction, and now, it's hard for us to just stop when it's equal. There's this calling for retribution that we want, and on that term, what do you think about reparations?
Listen, I think we're way past it. I think reparations would have been awesome back when the people who were around deserved it. I think that would have been fine with me. Like, yes, let's repay you. We did you wrong. Here you go. But it's unfortunate that we're just past it because there's no way to really properly do reparations. I'm, again, on top of their bodies right now, making more money than their slave masters. What? Because they were whipped, I deserve a check now? Clearly something has been fixed. Clearly things have changed. So how are we going about this reparation? Are you just giving anyone black a check? What about the people who've immigrated here? I mean, you're just going to give all African Americans a check? Okay, well, Elon Musk is African American, technically. Are you giving him a check? Or only the Browns? Are you going to really try to root back the slave masters and this, and this? Like, it's too much. It's too much. I don't think we're in a position where we need reparations, nor would we respect it. I mean, black people are infamously known to scream Black Lives Matter, but they don't act like their lives matter. We look at our inner cities, we look at the crime that's happening, we look at our culture, we look at our music. There's a lot of things within black culture that needs to be fixed. And a check's not going to fix that. It's just not. So I think we're just beyond reparations. I think if you can trace down the direct descendants of a slave and they're old enough and they went through this on this farm, this, that, and the third, maybe, I guess. And it can be documented that there was wrongful doing to this family, to this lineage. There's some cadence to that. But the idea of like, oh, blacks in America, you get a check. No. If anything, I mean, hell, poor and, I mean, again, I would say pour into the black communities, but I don't think we even respect our own communities. So I don't know. But yeah, no, I don't like the idea of reparations.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think that even if we were, let's say in a perfect world, we were able to sort it out and just give $5 million to people who have been wronged way back, way in the past. I don't know if they'd be able to handle having that much money. You can't just give people,
Exactly.
because then they're just, what's that really going to do? That's just going to make the top 1% even richer. They're just going to spend it on Amazon and on Ford and Tesla, and it's just going to make those billionaires trillionaires.
Exactly.
And I think you see with lottery winners, when they don't know what to do with all that money, and a few years later a lot of them are broke again.
Bankrupt.
And so just giving somebody a fat check, I don't think is the answer. And reparations are very messy, but I'm in California and they're trying to push it, and it makes no sense because we're a state that never had slavery. There's no slave owners here, but
it doesn't make sense. I think a cool way, if they really want to do reparations, I could see if you're a company, which is, I mean, there's a lot of that. If you're a company that benefited from the use of slavery, and you now have disposable money, where you're like, you know what, I can get this money reparations, then give it in the forms of knowledge. Like, you know what, actually, between 1800 and 1850, this Nestle or whatever, this company did this, and this to our slaves. We made this much money off the work that they did. We actually are going to give back to this black community. We're going to rebuild this school, rebuild this church, and we're going to wipe out this whole block and build like condominiums that are low priced, this, that, and the third. Cool. I'm fine with that. But the government doing it, it's a little dicey. But I think, especially like our own tax money, but I think if it came from actual companies who are like, yeah, we wouldn't exist right now if it wasn't for slaves, and now we're billionaires, we'll put some money into that. I'm fine with that. That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, I totally think that would work. That makes sense. It seems like every time the government gets involved in something, it gets corrupted very quickly.
Yeah.
Because the government itself can't produce anything. So they're going to contract the work out, and those people are going to bid on things, and then suddenly making a condo that would cost $20,000 to build suddenly costs $2 million.
Yeah.
I'm in California. We're dealing with the homeless situation, and there's now a homeless industrial complex where in order to get a homeless person a blanket, it now costs $3,000. A $20 blanket.
Insane to me.
Because there's so many nonprofit organizations involved and so much compliance, and we spend hundreds of thousands of dollars per person, and they're actually not seeing much of the benefit. Like 80% of that money is just getting held up in paperwork and administrators, and everybody sees this big pot of money and they see it as like, oh, let me get mine. So there might be a reparations industrial complex.
How do you feel about nonprofits? Do you feel like most of them are good in trying to, make a change and almost like eradicate their own problem? Or do you think a lot of them are fostering the problem so that they can always exist? Because the nonprofit can exist, the problem isn't there anymore. So
that's a very good point.
Do you think there are nonprofits who yes, we would be 100% fine to all lose our jobs and get rid of everything if this problem doesn't exist? Or are there more of them out there that are like, we're working on it, but on the back end, they're making sure it still exists?
That's a good question. I don't have a lot of emotion tied to nonprofits, but I do know good
Hmm.
ones, and I've heard of really bad ones, like in San
Yeah,
Francisco, the mismanagement of the homeless
right.
funds.
So maybe think about it.
That's terrible, and I think that most of those should be eliminated. But I have a friend who works for a nonprofit, and he's in right now, just like on the front lines, and
Damn.
he's just like out there doing hard work, and you wouldn't even know it from his social media. He doesn't seem like an activist. He's out there
Hmm.
just doing the really hard work, and
Impressive.
so like I'll donate to that nonprofit. It's called GEM, Global Empowerment
Hmm.
Mission, and so yeah, some are great. Some what do you think?
I think like your friends, like when they're actually on the ground and they're actually trying to make a change, for sure. I think those ones are great. Um, but I do think there are some nonprofits out there that exist that they're not going to give up everything that they built and all the
Hmm.
people that they've employed. I think about the gay nonprofits. I have to look into their financials, but I feel like it seems like the way they're responding, it was drying up for the gays, the lesbian, the gays, and the bis. Because again, we were chilling. It was fine. But now all of a sudden they're all advocates for trans youth. Like you go on any of these like LGBTQ nonprofits, a lot of the issues are the TQ plus now. And that plus is a plus. It's never ending. It's like this nonprofit, how did you go from we want to fight for marriage equality and gay people to have the right to give blood and gay people for the right to adopt to now we're going to fight for a 12-year-old getting a double mastectomy. Something changed. You've deviated a little bit. So I think regarding the gay nonprofits, they are very suspect to me,
Well, there's a lot
highly,
of money
because
in the transitioning now.
it's so much money. But yeah, that made me think about it, the homelessness. Because like you said, that it's a complex now. Like people are making money off of it now, which is, uh, it stresses me out. Because like, aren't you the same person that wants all like fighting for all this love and equality and peaceful world, but like, have you failed to look in the mirror and realize how corrupt you are and how corrupt you're acting? It's wild to me, man.
There's a theory that a lot of this trans stuff stems from a lack of children's ability to play now. You know, most of
Wow.
their life is spent online, whereas before they'd be outside playing pirate games or pretending to be this or having a tea party with teddy bears or they'd
Hmm.
have to use their imagination. And when you get to
Yeah.
do that, you get to act out roles and you get to take things to your limit. And then at the end of the day, you come home and you're back to being Susan again or
Hmm.
whoever. And now people aren't able to play out those roles. And the online world has almost taken priority. It has taken priority over the real world. And
Yeah.
online, you can change who you are in an instant. You can change your bio, you can
Whatever
change
you
your
want to be.
photos, you can put filters on. But the real world, it's hard to put a filter on yourself, and we're seeing this other insane rise in plastic surgery. There's
Yeah.
young kids are getting surgery like it's nothing. What do you think about that?
It reminds me of the Sephora kids, what they say too. All the little girls, the preteens who are into like anti-aging creams and oh, and let me get my lips done. And again, it kind of does go back to maybe it is related how we're not outside anymore, but how the preteen era it doesn't exist. Like the Claire's, it's still around. Like the Claire's, the I don't know, like that age between like 10 and like 13. That was like it's not a baby, it's not like a kid, but they're not a teenager yet. That awkward
It's very
phase is
awkward.
gone.
You're too old to be
It's just
trick or
like
treating, but you're too young to be going to a
yeah,
party or anything.
exactly. And I think that that era is disappearing because of online, and now they're like, instead of Fashion Nova for adults, it's Fashion Nova kids, and these kids look so old now, and all the makeup, and they want the surgeries. I think it's just a sign of our life online. It's a sign of people caring so much how they're presenting themselves online because they can see it could make them money. It could lead to a career of me being a YouTuber or being an Instagram model or whatever it may be. And I think it's unfortunate that the kids are online at that rate. And you made me think about my nephews. They are 4 and one's about to be 8. And my sister Tanya, those kids have never seen, they've seen it obviously, but they've never owned an iPad. They don't have phones. There's no game systems in the house. Man's is 8 and has never played a game console. And how mature they are, how respectful they are, how creative and smart they are blows me out of the water every time I visit them. I'm just like, how is this real? And I'm really wondering how they're gonna turn out. I know they're great now, but it's like, I wish every kid was in that position. There's no need for a kid to be online. There's no need for a 10-year-old to be using anti-aging cream. They bring Brat back. I mean, granted, we were posting it, how cringe we were. Like, oh, let's make a video. And it's like 2008, and it's just the worst thing ever. But I think the social aspect of media and how amplified it is now has played a huge role in these kids, these little girls wanting all these like fake surgeries, and Kylie Jenner and her like lip company, and that all started because she wanted bigger lips at the age of like 16, 17. Now it's a whole business, but it is unfortunate, I guess, for the girls. The guys, I do see them using it for their benefit as far as like being in the gym more, working out, getting the gains and all that. That is becoming more of a trend, which that's a good thing.
But also things like steroids are very common now.
That part's bad.
Yeah.
Are they really?
Maybe I'm just noticing it a lot more, but these social media influencers, they all want to be bigger, and they get that positive feedback loop every time they do a cycle or something. People are like, wow. You're looking huge. And the guys that are on steroids get the most followers. So it's definitely not everybody,
that's
but
interesting.
It's the incentives.
See, yeah, no, that's bad. I think, yeah, a lot of it is the social media and the brain rot that is these algorithms sometimes, and the thing they promote and what these people are looking into, who they're watching, and it's such a blessing and a curse. A blessing. This is great.
Yeah.
But then like, there's such a downside to social media, but I want to say there's ways we can fix it, reprimand it. I hope, as far as allowing kids on social media, what age they can be on, how it's protecting them. It's just, I do think that maybe more parents should hop on board. Like, I know apps like Snapchat and Instagram, they have full on like modes where your kid can still be on it, but it's monitored by the parent and they can see everything and this and that. Like, they're trying their best to make sure that they're, preteen friendly and teen friendly, but there's too many parents who are also new to the social media world where like it's just in tandem, everybody's just like kind of getting addicted. I was talking about this in one of my videos highlighting millennial parenting, and how rabid, the Gen Z kids are and up and coming Gen Alpha. But regarding social media, it's like, it's new to us too. Like I remember when MySpace was around and Facebook was around and when Snapchat was created, when Instagram was created, we're all watching this and growing with it at the same time of having kids. And so some parents are just so in it, they're not even realizing how bad it is for their kid, and now their kid's in it, and now you get in the world of the parents trying to make their kids influencers or being the family vloggers on YouTube, and they're not really understanding how bad it actually is.
I feel sorry for this younger generation a bit. Like, I don't envy them at all. I kind of
Oh,
call them the guinea pig generation because I feel lucky. Like, I grew up in the, I'm an 80s baby. I grew up in the 90s. I,
mm-hmm.
I feel like it was a very nice time to be a kid. And now so many kids are medicated. They're getting psych help. The social
Bro.
media, like, we didn't have any of that when I was a kid. We had Lion King. That was the best thing ever. I watched that like 100 times. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I didn't even have internet or smartphone till like I was in my 20s. Didn't have a, and now that's like my
Mm-hmm.
whole career. But it's funny how that is. And yeah,
It
so I
is.
feel sorry for this younger generation. They got the whole gender ideology thrown at them, the trans stuff, and
Mm-hmm.
how's a kid gonna? They don't have
They
the
can't
tools
process all
to.
that.
Yeah,
They can't. You're right in that they are the guinea pig generation, and I'm so glad. I'm so glad. One, I my sister is 6 years older than me, so I was always gravitated more towards like the older things at the time, which I relate more. I'm born in '95, so I relate more with like those born in the '80s or like the early '90s. Um, but I mean, I didn't get my first smartphone like with apps until 10th grade in high school, and then even then, throughout middle school, we all had like our sidekicks or like our track phones and this and that, but that was still basic texting. It wasn't even fast. It wasn't iMessage. Like we had AIM for that and like Yahoo Messenger. Um, we were always outside. In elementary school, we were outside. It was such a good time, and it was so good. And I really wish and hope that some kids. I mean, they're not. I really wish they could experience it. Just like, mom, I'm going outside, and then all of a sudden you see 10 bicycles outside your friend's house. You're like, oh, I'm gonna knock on the door and like see if they want to play. Like none of that exists. Everybody's on their phone or on their game. They're on Fortnite. They're on Snap. Like everybody's inside. It's You're right. Now they are the guinea pigs. They are being tested on, and they don't even have they don't even have the mental bandwidth to process all the information thrown at them
yeah.
at
Well,
all.
I are you optimistic about the future?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I try to be. I have my moments. I have my moments with AI. I have my moments with some of the things I see and how the youth is acting. Um, but I try to be. What about you?
I am very optimistic about the future. Like I said, the
Hmm.
pendulum swings. And I think
Yeah.
that this next generation of parents and kids, they're going to be very aware of how bad the social media is and how we've let these companies just like raise our kids. What were you going to say?
Yes. And, you reminded me. You're right because the kids that are in college now, they're very like quote unquote woke, if that's what you want to say. But the 10th, 11th, and 12th graders, a part of that same little crew generation, they're edgy.
Hmm.
Like they have dark humor. Like the things I see on TikTok and Instagram, like the reels and the jokes and the memes, I'm like, oh whoa, like this is putting like South Park to shame. So that made me remind me of that. Like it does swing, and I do see more and more like that age where you're kind of growing up a little bit, getting a job, like that group. There's a decent amount of them that have dark humor and they're over the woke crap and they're like, this is stupid. Like they're seeing it from their older siblings, how crazy it is. So yeah, you're right. It just maybe reminded me of that.
I think I did see a graph that showed that younger kids are more conservative. This,
Yeah,
um, especially young boys, which would make sense. There's a
yeah,
big split between boys and girls now. Boys lean a lot more right, girls a lot more left. Have you seen these charts?
yeah. I have. It makes sense. Because again, it's like outside from the steroids, it's like there was a little truth to that. There was this article, I forgot who put it out, but it was from the left, and it was like, oh, the gym is turning your son into a right wing extremist. And that's extra. But I will say, you find a kid working in the gym, they're gonna be more like open to these ideas. Whereas the girls, they are just more so on the end of not being confrontational, not being uh, divisive. Well, it's so weird. It's like not being divisive, but we get crapped on. But I do see it. I do see the trend, and I do see the graphs of the guys getting more conservative and the girls being more liberal.
Yeah, and it's led to some other stats that I thought were interesting, where a lot more young boys want families. They want to have kids, whereas a lot
Mm-hmm.
of young girls, they don't want to have families. And, we need men and women to get along. It seems like this division is starting, there's so much content online that says that's tailored towards men, that says, oh, go your own way, women are bad, and vice versa,
Mm-hmm.
like men are trash. And we need to come together. We can't be at odds.
Yeah, no, really can't. And I think people are going to start waking up from that this feminist liberal crowd that's like women's rights, women, women, women. They're slowly going to realize that they're eating their own by like allowing men that are saying that they're women in these spaces. One, but also two, that you want equal rights, but you don't want to be treated equal. You're posting the story, we deserve to be treated equal, we're the same, but then you go on a date and you're mad the man didn't pay. Like, they're gonna start to realize that they're at odds with themselves. Um, so hopefully, you know, they slowly realize that, because it is interesting to see the women that are like equal this, equal that, but then when it comes down to equality, they're not really for it. They want to be treated like a princess. They want to be spoiled. They want the door held open for them. They want all these things, but that's not what they're fighting for.
Have you heard of drizzle drizzle?
No.
No. It's a response to glitter glitter. It's when a girl says, oh, he's going to pay my rent, he's going to pay for all my stuff. It's the reverse of that. Men are now saying, I'm not going to pay the bill. Like, they're saying drizzle drizzle.
Listen,
And it's, I don't know, it's like the meme of the week. But
that's hilarious. I mean, I don't blame them. It's like, with how, are you single?
no, I'm married.
Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah.
look at that. I said with the dating thing now, it's insane. I feel bad for people who are dating now. Oof, oof. I feel bad for them. But I mean, I don't blame them. Like, you want equality, then you're gonna get equality. You say men are trash. Okay, well, they're gonna act like trash. So what can you do?
Yeah, I have some friends that are single, and the stories they tell me do not make me envy being single at all. And the politics are driving people crazy. Like a first date is kind of like trying to figure out what political party, like, are you vaxxed? Are you like, it's like an interview to see what camp you
Yeah.
fall into.
As if we don't change. Like the guy I met that basically, like, when I was a rabid liberal, like, now I'm a completely different person. Still together. It's like, I, yeah, dude, I don't envy them. I feel bad for them.
Is that your husband now?
Yeah.
Okay, that's great. That's very inspiring that you were able to just come together and weave together.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had to. It's just like, I knew he was dope. I knew he was cool, and I knew there was no ill intent. Um, yeah, we're completely different people, but we were aware of that. We knew on this journey of life that we're gonna be growing into different people. We're gonna have different thoughts and ideas, but that's a part of growth. But we're gonna do this growth together, and it's been a really, really awesome journey.
You made me think of a question I have for you. I'd love to get your take on this. It seems like almost everybody goes through this liberal phase. This, like, they're a rebel with all these causes. They're a revolutionary. And then as people get older, they tend to get more conservative. I wonder, why do you think that is?
Taxes, I think, are a big one. I mean, I listen. These taxes are ridiculous, and especially being an entrepreneur, like I always knew I was paying taxes, but now that I'm not on a W two, where it's just taken automatically, now I'm seeing it, or I get a brand deal, or like YouTube pays me, and I'm like, that's not all my money. A big chunk of that has to go away. I'm like, whoa. So I think a lot of it has to do with taxes, and then people realizing the impact of the laws that they're voting for and that the things that they're pushing for. So, I mean, before I'm like, oh yeah, I'm a big fan of the open border. Of course. Let people come in here, let them live for a better life. But it's like, you can do that the right way. We can fix the process of becoming a legal citizen, but we also don't have to just have an open border where we're allowing crime and drugs in. Um, Taxes, it's like, okay, before I'm like, we need to give more money to support this and support them overseas. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm also driving by like 10 homeless camps. Can we like address this real quick? Uh, and then when people have kids, they're like, wait, I'm growing, like I'm raising a child in this world that we're living in right now. So I need to start sharing my opinion and share what I want this world to look like. Um, yeah, the taxes, having a family, and just understanding, you know, the power that people do have. You know, like even allowing, I think in California it's legal. I think it is legal for you to use whatever bathroom you identify as. Like that's something that people like voted on. Like, that's something that like collectively your community agreed on. Like, yeah, actually, if you have a penis, but you say, you're a woman, you can come on in our bathroom. It's like there is power in like voicing your opinion and letting it be heard, especially when you're an adult. So I think that's a big reason why, more people are becoming slowly more. It's so weird. It's a conservative, but these ideas that we're saying, like, it doesn't even seem that conservative. It doesn't even seem that jarring or like that political to begin with. Like, why is it political to have a bathroom for penises and a bathroom for vaginas? Why is that left versus right? Why is it left versus right that you go to an apartment complex, you're living within a gated community. You go to a wealthy community and there's armed guards. You own a small business, you put a lock on it, you install a security system. You're a celebrity, you're walking around with an armed guard. But it's political to want a border for a country. It's political to want to protect our land, even though people protect their own homes. And this is all of our homes. Like, it doesn't make sense to me. Some of these things that more conservative people share, it doesn't even seem like it has to be political. It's just like, maybe that's me being biased. I feel like it's just common sense. I don't feel like it's that jarring.
Yeah, well, what is your take on the immigration? You've mentioned that a few times. Do you think it's hurting our country? Are there benefits to it?
Illegal immigration, yes. I think immigration is a good thing. But I also think that I think we lost the plot a little bit because of how bad our illegal immigration has gotten. How you have Chinese people, Russian people, Indian people fleeing to South America to make their way up, coming through the border legally, and we're giving illegals debit card stipends, health care, bus tickets, plane rides. Like, there's a lot of people taking advantage of the system. I think legal immigration is perfectly fine. I think it needs to be reworked a little bit. There's no reason why it should take that long, or you have this person who is in our country, has a good job, went to school, why it's taking them so long to get their green card to be approved with their work visa, whatever. There are things that need to be adjusted. I think we do need to protect our wall and our border the same way people are fighting. Ukraine needs to protect their border. We need to give them more money to get more guns. Well, what about our border? Like you all gun ho about all these other countries protecting themselves, but what about us? Fentanyl at record rates, people being trafficked, like drugs, like all these things are going on, and it's like you're so focused on overseas. But yeah, I think illegal immigration needs to be locked down. Legal immigration needs some work, and our culture and how we treat each other and treat the other, how America as a culture treats the other cultures that come in here. Like, it's almost like this idea of if America is more of a melting pot or if America is a mosaic. I feel like it's more of a mosaic where we're all one piece, we're America, but there's different pieces coexisting. And I don't know if that necessarily works for long term. I don't know if having, this community, this culture, this culture, this culture, we're here, that are all within their own self-interest in their own community, rather than a true melting pot where it all just blends together. We're all American, we're all patriotic, we all acknowledge we have different cultures, but they all bleed and feed off each other and create new cuisines and new restaurants and new themes. And I think that's getting a little lost. And now it's getting back to the more tribal, oh, I'm this or I'm this, I'm waving on my flag. And it's like, you should just be raising the American flag. Like, we're all here together. I don't know. That's my thoughts.
Yeah, a lot of people are at the point where they think the American flag is a symbol of racism.
Yeah. I hate that. It frustrates me that I see it that way too. Not even I see it that way, but 9 times out of 10, that is what it is. Not racism, but that if I see someone with an American flag, I feel like I know where they stand. And that's unfortunate. My neighbor put up American flag on his truck the other day, and I'm like, that's epic. But it should be just across the board. And you do see that more in the Midwest. It's just rootin' tootin' patriotic Americans. But yeah, the fact that they see this as racist, it is alarming, because it used to be, but if it's racist now, it's doing a bad job. Hello. But that part's crazy to me.
Yeah, in many ways, I think these things are naturally healing. We're just meeting each other, we're mingling, we don't need the government to get in and regulate our speech and our what we do. We're just through meeting each other and talking it out, we're all coming together, and that's naturally happening. And I think a lot of the interventions are hurting those old wounds from closing. I'm thinking of things like DEI and affirmative action, which had good intentions, but in my view have backfired tremendously. What do you think?
They're bad. I think they're awful. I think, one, we should never be lowering That's so wild to me that I'm even saying this out loud. We shouldn't be lowering standards just to allow more of a different race or ethnicity in. That's so bad. And I don't care who you are. If you're a parent, not even a parent for yourself, if you're getting heart surgery and you were given 2 check boxes, okay, you're about to get heart surgery. We have 2 options for you. You can have the best heart surgeon in America. He is incredible. 20,000 heart surgeries under his belt. Or we'd like to present to you the world's first Black trans heart surgeon. Amazing. Who would you rather work on your heart?
Well,
you just want what's qualified.
Well, I don't want to be transphobic.
Hello. It's the opposite. Yeah. Trans, you don't want the Black trans doctor.
I'm willing to die.
It's It's like, it's so harmful, and it's such a slap in the face between affirmative action and the DEI stuff. It's no, we were getting past that. Like you said, we were all just talking, mingling. We don't need laws to say that, you know, you can't say certain things. As a society, as a collective, we understand like, oh, those people are bad. Let's move on. Um, but yeah, regarding the DEI stuff and affirmative action, I think it's more harmful than good. It's good intent. I mean, hey, like you want more representation, I get it, but you only want more representation and diversity of thought. I mean, not the thought. You want more diversity of representation, but not thought. So I would say I'd rather listen to a panel of four white men who are all saying different things than a panel of four different races and sexes who are all saying the same thing. Like, one's going to give you more diversity of thought, one's going to be more thought provoking and come up with new ideas and solutions, but then the other is just all the same thoughts. Like, and that's what they're thinking this is. And it's so backwards because, like, you're so anti racist, but here you are assuming that us all blacks think the same or that we can't achieve this. And it's like, you're not fixing the core issue. Okay, this institution is mainly white. Why is it mainly white? Well, because the test scores are too high. Okay, actually, then, instead of lowering the barrier to entry for blacks, why don't you work on things to help increase education for blacks from the jump? Like this idea that, oh, we need to meet our quota, and that's it's so sad now, because now when I see anything black or gay related, instead of me before thinking like, oh wow, like they actually did that, or like they worked hard for this, I'm just like, oh, you were handed it, or they need to meet their quota. Like, I don't even look, it's so bad, I don't even look at blacks and gays like they accomplished something. I'm just like, oh, you were handed this because they need to meet their quota, because they need the diversity, because they needed this storyline, because we see it more in media than in real life. Not everybody's gay. Not everybody's trans. Like, it's, and black people, like, you want all this equality, but like you fail to realize that we're a minority for a reason. We're literally a minority. How are you acknowledging that we're a minority, but you want to be seen everywhere? You go to an all-white town. Oh, this town's racist. There's not a lot of black people. Girl, we only make up 13% of the population. What do you mean it's racist? Oh, I went to Colorado and I was gonna go hiking, or these pamphlets, there's only white people in it. It's like, well, hello, it's majority white town, doesn't mean it's automatically racist. At that, if anything, you're fighting so hard to be seen everywhere without realizing that it's us from within at the black community that's doing a lot of harm to begin with. You want to scream Oscars so white and we need more black actors and this and that. Within the same time, if you're in 7th grade, 8th grade, and you got a little black kid that wants to join drama club, all of a sudden you're calling him a what do you want to do here? Like, do you want more representation? Or do you want to just keep bullying people and keeping them locked in this theoretical box of what it is to be a black person in America? You want to keep them locked in this ideological box of black people do this, black culture this. Oh, why are you talking white? Or why are you acting white? Why are you dressing white? Why are you eating white people food? We lock each other down to what black is supposed to be, but then want to scream and cry when we're not represented in other places. It does not make sense to me.
That's well said. It reminds me of Google Gemini. You know, it refused to show a white person, so you say, show me the forefathers of America. It shows a Middle Eastern woman and 2 black people. It's like, all right, well, there you go. I guess America was founded by these people.
Like, we're literally not equal. Like, how are you fighting for equality, but we're literally not equal? It literally doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah. I mean, at the core of affirmative action, and I think that it robs people of their free will. And people really don't want to, if you deal with somebody in a way where you are acting like they don't have free will, people hate it because you're taking away all their victories. Anything that they gained on their own, it wasn't you. It was given to you by this third party. And the third party has to decide everything. They have to, because we're trying to get it's not about equal opportunity, it's about equal outcomes. And this third party has to manipulate statistics and the finish line to make everybody seem equal. But who decides what group gets prioritized, what group gets left out? And it's impossible to make everything equal. Much easier to just, like you were saying, give everybody equal opportunity and then let the chips fall where they may.
Yeah, it's like, oh, you want to be upset. Oh, well, this white community, they go to a good school, yada yada. Okay, well, let's back up a little bit. You got these wealthy whites in this white neighborhood paying their taxes. They're very involved in their community. They just get together and actually, let's make a private school. They make a private school. They're pouring all their money into that school. They're paying $35,000 a year for their child, best teachers, best education. That's not racism's fault. That's a community banding together and say, we want the best for our offspring. Let's pour it into this, give them this, resources this, and then boom. That's just letting the cookie crumble. Black community, okay, you're striving so hard to be an NFL player, an NBA player, a rapper, and then they leave and they go to a white neighborhood. That's how the cookie crumble. Instead of advocating, actually, if let's this rapper, let's just stay in the hood. I'm gonna buy the block up and I'm gonna revitalize it. I'm gonna buy these neighborhood stores and we're gonna change it up a little bit. I'm gonna pour into this school here and let's build a private school. Like the priorities are just not the same. That's not racism's fault. That's the community's fault. So I remember when I first made friends who were going to these private schools and I started working in a rich neighborhood, I'm like, wait, this low-key isn't even racist. This is just a community caring about the community. Everything looks nice, well cared for. It's just, if the black community really wants to step up, it's not like we don't have the money for it. It's not like a lot of us aren't entertainers, aren't bankers, aren't athletes. It's not like the money isn't there to start kindling change in our own communities. So, yeah.
I've seen some clips from Coleman Hughes. Do you know Coleman Hughes? I think he made a really great point about how it's not really so much a racial issue as a class issue. Like there are, poor whites are hearing about white privilege and they're like, I'm living in a trailer park. I'm on fentanyl.
Literally,
like this
Appalachians.
Sucks.
I have it here in Tennessee.
Yeah, so I believe Coleman Hughes was saying if we focus on uplifting the poor, that will disproportionately help black people because they fall into that demographic disproportionately more. And I remember it was on The View, it went viral, and the person he was talking to could not grasp the concept. All she would say is like, but racism. And he's like, no, it's class. And if we focus on class, we will disproportionately help certain races that fall into that class.
I completely agree with that. And Coleman's a great guy. It makes sense. Just focus on the class and then keep it going. But instead you want to focus on race, okay, Beyonce's child should get reparations. Is she going through a horrible time in America? LeBron James kids, Dwayne Wade kids, like Sasha and Malia Obama, like you're so focused on race without realizing that it is the class issue. Like you can't sit here and ignore these really poor whites, and that's something I had to come to grips with in high school. I went to a low-income high school, and high school's ratchet. Oh, but there were times where I realized then, like, actually, not every white person has it good in America. Like, I'm living my life better than some of my white friends out here. It's really just a class thing. Are there some racist things? For sure. There are some racial factors in the very middle school, like, very bare level, but most of it is class. And if we just focus on uplifting everybody, uplifting the poor, giving more opportunities, pouring into these communities, especially on the education front, because again, you can't just give them a bunch of money. Like, it's how they treat that, giving them the wealth of knowledge at a deep level can really go a long way. But instead, everybody just focus on the color of our skin, the color of race, which is even more racist to me to just sit here and say, I want to focus on this color, this color, this color, instead of just focusing on the issue at hand.
Yeah, another question I wanted to ask you was, what is your opinion on the race swapping of all these characters in movies?
Now, I'm not a fan, honestly. With Ariel, for example, given it's a mermaid, I don't know the full extent of the original story. Like, if race played a huge factor in Ariel and like where they're from, the region, and all that.
I believe it's like a German or French story.
No, I think it's just if the story exists, let the story exist. Like when came out and it was like, oh, she's gonna be a black woman. I was like, one, this is just for the DEI stuff and like our culture, like Black Lives Matter. But then two, like you would be salty if the whites did that to a black character. Like, how are you so for uplifting and empowering black people, but instead of creating an original black story like Black Panther, you're sitting here and like taking a white story? It doesn't make sense to me, because then again, it was a fish, it was a mermaid. If the story depends on race and they race swap, it's weird. For example, Princess and Tiana, it does rely on race. Disney movie, Deep South Louisiana, like if they all of a sudden made that a white girl, I'd be like, why? That's not okay. Or like Mulan, a black chick, that doesn't make sense. So in general, yeah, I don't think there's no need for race swapping. It's such a stupid thing to get upset about, but it's like, just create new things or just keep the story as is. Like, on one end, I don't know, dude. It's like when Ariel came out, there were a lot of redheads that felt seen. There's a lot of ginger kids that just felt like, wow, like there's a princess. It's like a redhead. This is awesome. And that was theirs. And the black girls saw Princess and Tiana. Like, wow, there's a black princess now. Like, this is great. But I'm going to take away from the redhead princess and make her black too. And it's like you took away what the girls kind of were looking up to in a way. Because I do understand I guess the joy of like representation, of like seeing yourself, like seeing all the little black boys really love Black Panther. It was really sweet and wholesome. Because again, as a kid, like, I looked at Spider-Man like, oh, I can be Spider-Man because he had a mask on. And there's a lot of kids, so obviously Peter Parker's a thing. You see he's a white man, but he's still like in clothes or like Batman. But it never resonated with Superman. It's like a blonde white man like flying through the air. I don't relate to that. But when you see this masked figure like a Batman or a Spider-Man, you kind of can put yourself in their shoes. So I see a little bit of all the little black kids and that were just super loving of Black Panther. It made sense to me as a black person, but I think we just need to keep just creating our own stories. The race swapping is played out, is old, it dusted. We don't need to be doing it.
I totally agree with you. There are trillions of stories throughout history, and we just keep repeating the same couple stories because these companies are creatively bankrupt. They see movies as a way to make money, and that's it, not to tell great stories. So instead of, going through like African history and finding some amazing stories there, they want to make Mulan and, shoehorn in some new quota in that position that, doesn't really make sense. But the entire reason for making the movie is on the justification of, oh, we got to have this representation. And that's so important that we're going to remake this $300 million movie. It seems, if you kind of take that away, there's really no point to remaking the movie in the first place. So they put such an emphasis on this identity and that's why we're going to justify, but it's really kind of a cash grab, I feel like.
Yeah, no, it totally is. That's why it's like I don't look at black and gay actors with pride anymore. It's not like, oh, this is great, like we're being represented. It's like, no, we're being like cashed out.
Hmm.
Like that's what it is. Like when I see a billboard and I see black, I'm just like, what is this? Or even me and my husband were watching some like the trashy like Netflix reality series, games and stuff like that. It's just a little fun to pass time. And we started a new season and it was an all black cast, and I'm like, this is weird. Like, I felt weird about it. I was like, this is just odd. Like, we just need, that's not real life to me. And then the one white cast member got eliminated first. I mean, this is racist. Like, this is crazy to me. Like, why did, there was no, in the game series, there was literally no reason why they eliminated the white man first other than he was just different. And they just kicked him out. And I'm like, this is just weird. I just don't like the race stuff. Ugh. I don't like the race stuff, and I don't like the race swapping. Just make our own stuff, and we'll go a better way.
Yeah, our culture's put such a strong emphasis on race. It's getting stronger and stronger. And like, I feel like in the 90s, we were in a pretty healthy spot. Like when I was a kid,
Oh yeah,
I didn't really think about what races my friends were. And then, now it's gotten to a point where if I'm at work or something, you gotta really, okay, who is this person I'm talking to? Like, what category do they fall into? I need to like be very careful with my language, and it's no way to think, and it hurts your ability to form bonds with people, for sure.
yeah. I think things were way better back then. Like early movies with all the jokes, comedians, the dark humor, poking fun at certain things and races, like Rush Hour, like all the jokes they would make in there. It's a great movie, but something like that couldn't be made now. You know, it's just unfortunate because, like you said, and I agree with you, the race relations back in the day, I feel like were better. There were still some things to work on, but it wasn't that deep. But now it's like no one thought about it, so it was chill. Because like growing up for me, like there were some race stuff obviously I battled with, but I did still feel like it was okay for me to like hang around with the white kids, or I did see some white gangster kids, or there's some more black nerdy kids, or black like rocky emo kids. But nowadays it's like, it seems more polarized. It seems more tribal. It seems more. It just seems more weird. Like I feel like back in the day, if you saw a black person or a gay person, you didn't know their whole life. But nowadays, you see the black kids or the white kids or like the gym bros, the white girls, the gay kids. You feel like you almost understand their entire world of view just by knowing a certain characteristic, which is so unfortunate because it didn't used to be the case. But I'm also aware. For me, that's why I make the content that I make, and I do focus on more black and gay issues because I'm trying to show on the opposite side that we all don't think the same. We all don't like this, we all don't vibe with it. But on the other flip side, I'm also aware that that's a big reason of why my content pops off the way it does. It's because it's a little jarring. It's because a black person shouldn't be saying these things. A gay person shouldn't be saying these things. It's so taboo. But, I mean, it is what it is, but that's why I'm vocal about it. But yeah, it is crazy that we've come to this point where, you know, a lot of these people can be seen, just looked at, and then you can almost just tell what they believe.
Well, I think what you're doing is so powerful because of who you are. People have to listen to the content of your message. Like if you were
True.
a straight white male, people would be like, oh, you're just a bigot, you're a racist,
Yeah.
whatever. And it's like anything people don't like, they try to throw those labels at them so they can dismiss them.
Mm-hmm.
But with you, it's very difficult to do that. So we have to just absorb your message.
Right.
And it's like, okay, this makes sense. So
Yeah, it's like it is like a cheat code. It's like some people still call me racist and homophobic. Oh my gosh, it's so crazy. I had a dream about them last night. It's crazy, but My other group of friends I went to middle school with, I'm not friends with them no longer, because I am a raging homophobic and racist bigot coming from white liberals. So, still exists sometimes. But for the most part, yeah, you can't say that to me. You look dumb if you say that to me. Like, yeah, like, don't listen to him. He's so racist and homophobic. But, like, someone with a common mind, with a little inkling of open to new ideas, they're like, but he dates dudes and he's black. So, like, you want to work so hard to uplift gay voices, uplift black voices, but now all of a sudden you don't want to uplift his? It's a little fake. Like, are you really about that life and uplifting these voices, or do you want to only uplift the voices that you approve of? Pick one.
Absolutely. I mean, it was like what we just went through for the last couple of years. It was like, listen to the experts, and then an expert says something that doesn't agree, and then that person needs to be censored. You know,
all of a sudden they're not an expert. They deserve to be censored. Literally, oh my gosh. Yeah, that topic.
Yeah.
Literally, Facebook restricted, like, I think it was like $1,000 in my Instagram account, because of misinformation regarding that whole 2020 realm, and then all of it's true now, and I'm just like,
huh. You know what's crazy is I'm about to have a Facebook whistleblower on the podcast. This woman
really
it was her job to decide. She was in charge of what got censored and what didn't, and now she hates she's against the company now. She's in this big lawsuit. The lawsuit finally finishes, and she wants to kind of come out and just say what went on behind the scenes at Facebook. Like, I'm going to tell you everything.
Awesome.
So I was like, yeah, if you want to come on here, sure, let's air it out.
That's awesome.
So it'll be my first kind of, I don't know, maybe this episode will be a little controversial. I don't know. I've never talked about race on After School or anything. I've always tried to kind of focus on things that are much deeper than this superficial. You know, I've always been like psychological, spiritual, and like philosophical. I feel like focusing on skin color and genitalia, it's just so super, like, identity politics is such a lie. Like, oh, if that person has my genitalia, they have my best interests at heart. You know, it's so shallow.
I completely agree, and that's why I thoroughly enjoy the content that you make, because it genuinely does make me think. It genuinely does push people to be better people. It genuinely is on another level, and it's sad that, like I always say, like when I'm making videos, like sometimes I'm like dumbfounded that, one, this is a career, but then two, I'm just sharing my opinion, but it's my opinion that's like so jarring. And I'm not saying, and my best friend Keith, we were playing games, and he's like, Amir, I love your content, but it is so stupid how you'll make a video and I'm just like, oh yeah, duh. But then all the comments like, this is great, but it's like, it's not that deep. Like, it's not, I'm not saying anything that explosive, but for some reason, our society and how it's framed right now, it's like I am, and I'd much rather focus on the big issues that you talk about. And, you know, I definitely bring it up at the end of every video, more working on yourself and all that kind of stuff. But it's why my videos are long. I can't do the 7-8 minute video. I try to make sure that my videos are at least over 20 minutes, because I still want it to be substance in there, and like give real ideas and really challenge people in their thoughts and perspectives, because it is easy to fall down that trap of just the gender this and race this, but I always want to make sure I'm at least giving something of value, because to me, what I talk about is so bare bones, it doesn't even scratch the surface of what truly matters in this world regarding our health, our wealth, our spirituality, and so much more.
Well, thank you for the kind words. And I think, like, I see you have the it factor. Like, I think you're going to go really far with this channel. It's going to keep blowing up. And
thank you.
Like you're saying, you are just scratching the surface. I think you are going to take this audience and evolve. They're going to evolve with you, and you're going to take them much, much deeper. You know, we're not going to be talking about, in 10 years, we're not going to be talking about these same issues that we're talking about now. You'll be uplifting these people into like the fifth dimension.
I know that's right.
So I
I'm
think that'd
excited
be a
for it.
great place to stop. Amir, this has been a real pleasure. Thank you.
This has been so much fun. I like literally I've done a few podcasts, but this is the most one, it's unreal. This is our first time like connecting like this. It does not feel like it. But then two, your energy. Like I genuinely feel better getting off this call. I genuinely do feel it's like a better person. It was a great time, great chat. Um, I'm just inspired to go tackle the day. So I thank you for your time, your aura, and the way you present yourself because it definitely bleeds off to people.
I really appreciate you. I really appreciate that. And I was very excited to have you on because it's important to have just a wide range of voices, and your voice is like a shining light in this dark world.
Thank you.
So, all right. I look forward to meeting you in person too.
Oh, for sure. That's gonna happen soon.